Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FG, as you just heard again. I am your host, Ray Flowers. Happy to be with you here today on this beautiful Tuesday. It's a little chilly, getting into the holiday spirit. Hopefully, wherever you're at, you're feeling the same. Whatever holiday you celebrate, I hope you have a good time, family, friends, all that kind of stuff, as we talk about all the time here on this show, on Jeff's show, and Discord over at FantasyGuru.com. If you're struggling, if it's a tough time of year for you, let us be your friends and family, right? We're around. We got a great group of people over there at I'm all on SiriusXM, but more importantly, over at FantasyGuru.com. Join the large act community in fantasy sports. I'm not saying that to make money. I'm not saying that to take money out of your pocket. I'm just saying a lot of good people over at FG, a lot of good people here on this show too. You've seen that, all the folks in Discord or the chat room every single day talking to each other, help lifting each other up. Bottom line is, whether you sign up at FG or not, it's unimportant. At this time of year, a lot of people are happy, a lot of people struggle. So for those people that are struggling, pick them up. You know, for those of you out there that have fortune, that have the means to do it, whether it's financial or a time commitment or something, do something to help somebody else. It goes a long way. At least that's my hope for all of you this holiday season. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. Follow me on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all of those places at the Ray Flowers. This show is with you Monday through Friday from 12 to 1. So you listen to this show about an hour. You then head over to SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Jeff Mans. Yeah, the Elite Sports Show over there on SiriusXM Monday through Friday, 2 to 5. I'm with Jeff on Wednesdays, which is why I'm not here. I'm over there 2 to 5 on Wednesdays. The rest of the week, I'm here with you at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Switching things up a little bit. You'll see it today. Let me throw it up here on the old screen-a-rooney. Change things up a little bit. Schedule change for some of the guys here. So the bottom line is Armando Marcel, who's normally on Tuesdays, he's not going to be on Thursday. Normal Thursday guy, Tyler Buecher, he's going to be on today. It coincides very well. Tyler's article for the waiver wire comes out today. In fact, I think I saw it pop up this morning. So we'll talk waiver wires with Tyler in about 25 minutes. Lots of players to talk about. Do we take a chance on guys like Shedeur or Trevor Lawrence? Blake Corum, we've talked a lot about Blake Corum on this show. We'll talk more about him with Tyler Buecher, Jaylen, Wright, Dylan Sampson, Chuba, Hubbard, Ryan Flournoy, Jayden Reed, Josh Downs, Colston, Loveland, and Isaiah Likely, and Luther Burden. I left him off of the sheet there, but we are going to talk Luther Burden. Luther Burden should have been added weeks ago. We talked about this on the show directly. We said, add Luther Burden. Jeff Mann said, add Luther Burden. In Discord, we said, add Luther Burden. We'll talk to Tyler about that with the injury to the foot of Rome Odunze. Before we get to any of that, we'll review some Monday Night Football. Went to overtime. I saw some analysts saying they couldn't stay up. East Coast people, man, I tell you. Okay. You can't stay up for a Monday Night Football game? Like, come on, man. Like, seriously? Like, during the baseball season, games on the West Coast go to 10:30 at night, every day. We got games baseball going to 10:30 at night. You can't stay up till 10:30 at night on the East Coast to watch one football game a week? Anyway, we'll talk more about the game between the Chargers and the Eagles. We'll also talk some of the main storylines. Quarterbacks going down with injury. What are teams going to do? T. Higgins in the protocol again. Will Marvin Mims and DeAndre Hopkins see their roles grow? CeeDee Lamb and Drake London, what are we thinking? We'll talk about all that here on the show. As you can see on the screen as well, many ways to get involved with us. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up over at fantasyguru.com. If you have any questions about any of the subscriptions, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com, support@fantasyguru.com. The football product has again been lowered. That includes all college and football, $64.99 the rest of the way. All of our football coverage for $64.99. That includes all seasonal coverage, all betting coverage, all DFS coverage for the NFL and for the college game. So all of it, articles, live streams, chats, podcasts, Discord rooms, all of it over at fantasyguru.com. All right. Oh, you can see there on the screen. Why not mention this too? I do at the start of the show. I always feel kind of like a broken record, but you know, let's go for it anyway. Lots of ways to listen to the show. Number one, if you listen to podcasts, wherever you listen to, is provided that's Pandora, Spotify, Apple iTunes, or YouTube Music. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily and you can find us there. Go to fantasyguru.com, click the subscribe tab at the top of the, click the subscribe tab at the top of the page. But for the sake of this exercise, click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page in that toolbar there. You'll go to that page, you'll see a big picture of Jeff Mann's head. Scroll down a little bit, and you can find One Man's Opinion, his show. You can find this show cataloged. You can find Mind of Marsal, his show cataloged. You can find the Fancy Justin Fensterman's Basketball Diaries. That show is cataloged. You can find the Race Guru Thunder Hour with Sean and Rich. So all of those can be found by clicking the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. And then the 3 ways to get involved live or watch live or on demand at any point you want. If you're watching live, you can ask those comments, leave those questions, all that kind of stuff throughout the show here. Those 3 places are youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite, and Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. Let's talk some Monday Night Football. 22-19, the Chargers improved to 9-4. The Eagles fall 8-5. And this story has not been written. We still have weeks left here in the season, but we've got the Ravens struggling. We've got the Bills winning a game, but they're not looking so good. We've got the Chiefs struggling. We've got the Eagles struggling. The powerhouses the last few years, I mean, there's starting to be some growing questions about how many or if these teams are even going to make the playoffs. Yeah. So here we go. We'll figure that out here moving forward. I was just distracted. Buck said, Mann's on Wednesdays is the best, mostly because it's Ray Day. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm here Monday through Friday. Actually, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday on this show. Wednesdays, I'm on with Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show. I appreciate the kind words, Buck. Hopefully everyone listens to this show for an hour, takes a break for about an hour, and then go listens to Jeff for 3 hours every day. That's 4 hours of guru talk. And then the other shows we talked about, One Man's Opinion, Basketball Diaries, Race Guru Thunder Hour, Mind of Marsal. We got a lot of audio to help you out with the crew. Remember, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. The Eagles lost this game. They're listing here. They're in a losing streak. Jalen Hurts, lots been made about the 2 turnovers on 1 play. Yes, that can happen. Yes, it did happen. Go check out if you missed it. Interception, fumble, same play. It was a wild play. 3 turnovers on 1 play. Bottom line is Hurts played a poor game. He made a couple of bad throws. A couple of the interceptions, he threw 4. Now remember, I think he had 2 picks all season coming into last night. So this game was completely out of nowhere for him. He was off. He was off. His receivers didn't help. Devonta Smith dropped passes. A.J. Brown dropped passes. Balls were getting tipped for interceptions. Like, it was a rough game for Hurts, but his mates didn't help him out. Bottom line is, though, they only produced 19 points and they lost in overtime. And Hurts struggled. Does that mean I'm benching Hurts this next game? Absolutely not. Hurts is still a top 10 quarterback every single week. And really, he's a top 5 quarterback every week. It doesn't matter. Don't overthink it. Don't go to the waiver wire and pick up Shedeur Sander. No, Jalen Hurts is still your starter in week 15. On the ground, Saquon Barkley finally had a big game. He had a 50-yard touchdown run, 52 yards. I think it was only his second 50-yard run of the season, something like that. 20 carries, 122 yards, and a touchdown. Strong effort for him on the ground. Interestingly, after catching those 7 passes a couple of games ago, Barkley has 0 catches the last 2 games. 0. Not ideal. And Barkley is still struggling to run for 70 yards on a consistent basis, but it was nice to see him have the big hit last night. It was nice to see him go for over 100 yards and get the touchdown. Though, again, not being involved in the passing attack 2 consecutive weeks. I mean, they threw 40 passes last night. Didn't get 1 single reception. Didn't catch either of his targets. Something to think about, Barkley. As Angelo said, I didn't have to start Saquon, but I did. You have to start Saquon. You always start Saquon Barkley. We've talked about that on the show here. I mean, again, I guess there's scenarios where you don't. We're trades and waiver wire, I guess, but I have him, and I've never considered taking him out of my lineup. In the one league I have him. I don't think anyone else should as well. Okay, AJ Brown is doing his thing. Do you know that AJ Brown has caught 6 balls in 4 consecutive games? Do you know that AJ Brown has had 6 catches for 100 yards in 3 consecutive games? You know that AJ Brown has 3 touchdowns in 3 games? This is why you always play AJ Brown. This is why the literally 7,650 questions that were asked by everyone in the Discord over at fantasyguru.com. And I'm only exaggerating by about that much. I bet there were thousands of questions about AJ Brown. This is why you didn't trade AJ Brown. This is why you keep putting AJ Brown in your lineup. This is why. And again, it doesn't matter what happened in week 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. It's what happening heading into the playoffs and in the playoffs. And right now, dude is rolling. He's absolutely killing it. Oh, Mike says, I agree. I look forward to Elite on Wednesdays and Fridays. Well, thank you. Hopefully you like the Elite Sports Show every day. I'm on Wednesdays. Fridays, Ted Schuster. It's Core 4 Friday for all those people that don't know. They talk DFS on the show. And again, if you sign up for the product, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You sign up for the product over at FG. You get access to the DFS, seasonal, and wagering for college and NFL. And so if your seasonal team isn't working, your teams aren't working, you didn't make the playoffs, if you struggled in DFS and you want to get a little bit of a leg up, if you want to keep this train going, for whatever reason, your DFS is out, your seasonal is out, you want to do some betting, we can help you there too. So check us out. Always send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Devonta Smith, 4 catches for 37 yards. He's kind of just, And, as Brown has ascended, Smith has kind of descended a little bit. So he's still startable, but obviously the ceiling and consistent play right now is A.J. Brown. Huge game from Dallas Goedert, 8 catches for 78 yards on 10 targets. His production in the game last night basically matched the previous 3 games. And in fact, I think he has like 145-yard game in 2 months, and it was last night. So, again, he's not getting 10 targets ever. That's not normal for Dallas Goedert. It's normally 3 or 4 catches, 38 yards and a touchdown, right? Or it's either the touchdown makes him a usable piece or the touchdown loss makes him a 0 for the week. Very uncharacteristic to see him with 10 targets or 8 receptions. Not something you should expect. Again, they threw the ball 40 times to the Eagles. That's not their MO, and that's not what they want to do. On the other side of things, the Chargers, we were talking about this yesterday, not that anyone really cares. I didn't have one person ask me, but the FSGA League, I was going to finish in last place. I was going to get kicked down, demoted. Didn't happen. I ended up winning my matchup last night. Why? Because Cameron frickin' Dicker had 5 field goals. So I was down by like 18 points, and my kicker had 5 field goals. So I avoided getting demoted. I came in 13th place out of 14. Woohoo! As we talked about yesterday, Justin Jefferson stinks. Who was my team? Benson got hurt. Garrett Wilson got hurt. There was one other. I can't even remember. You can go look at episode 546. But the bottom line is I'm not getting demoted. Thank you to Cameron Dicker. I also won a matchup heading into the playoffs in my Dynasty League. I was losing going into the overtime, and Dallas Goedert caught 2 balls in the overtime, so I barely squeaked out a victory there to move to 12-2. So big. I love Cameron Dicker and Dallas Goedert right now. But on the Chargers side of things, 2 big storylines. Well, 3. 1, the receivers haven't been producing much of late. 2, Hubbard, played last night, played the whole game, ran for 66 yards, took some hits. So, it wasn't a big effort, but it was nice to see him out there. It would have been nice to see him have more success passing the ball, but he did at least run for 66 yards to help you out there. And then 3rd, it was the backfield. And I'll say this nicely, and you can see there, use the rankings. I threw it up on the screen. I do, Angela, I do hate kickers. They're human beings, but I hate kickers. And this is a perfect example. No one, and I lost a matchup earlier this week. We talked about it on the show, right? With my defense and everything in the FSJ. Like, it's the only league I have kickers. Shouldn't use kickers. It's ridiculous. Like Cameron Dicker with 5 field goals. Come on, man. It's impossible to predict that. It's impossible that it happened. I'm not a genius because I had Dicker in the lineup. That's just how it worked. The Oracle, you look like the 3rd wet bandit from Home Alone. You know what? I hate Home Alone. I'm Mr. Christmas like Jeff Mans, but Home Alone's not my jam, baby. That make me a bad person? No, it doesn't. I've heard they're talking about actually making another one with Macaulay Culkin or something. I don't know. Maybe that's making that up. Maybe that's just a rumor that's making a thing here. Jay Main says, heading into the playoffs, what position do you think we should put stock into? Can you ask a follow-up here, Jay Main? I'm not really sure what you're asking here with that question. Back to this game, use the rankings. Okay, it says that on the screen, and I would really encourage people, number 1, don't ever ask Jeff Mans a question in Discord about what he thinks about a matchup. Jeff does the rankings at fantasyguru.com, so you always know what he thinks. Number 2, I've said this on the show. I've said it in Discord. 97% of the time, I go with the rankings. So when you ask me to start him, sit him, I'm just going to tell you what the rankings say. Number 3, this idea last night, like there was multiple people asking Herbert or Vidal. They were arguing. They were questioning. The rankings had these 2 guys like 30 spots apart. Okay? I think it was 29 spots apart with Hampton ahead. And Vidal was involved yesterday. He had 100 scrimmage yards because of the 160-yard catch. Also had a lame-ass penalty on that tackle. But he had a solid game. But it was Hampton who had the much more rushing yards and who got in the end zone and was the slightly better fantasy play, right? The rankings said Hampton. I said Hampton. Rich said Hampton. Tyler said Hampton. Armando said Hampton. And people kept asking the question. It's like, at some point, folks, you have to make a decision, okay? You don't have to subscribe at fantasyguru.com. If you do subscribe at fantasyguru.com, you don't have to listen to the rankings. But it is what it is. Okay? And I eventually left chat yesterday. I was trying to help people. And there was like 10 questions about Hampton or Vidal. And it's like, what are we doing? So the bottom line is, if you use either one, you were okay. Hopefully you used Hampton, who was our call, who was the better fantasy play. He got in the end zone, as we mentioned here, as a pass catcher. Hampton did play half the snap count of Vidal. Vidal, that should change. Or Vidal, I guess, is how we're pronouncing it on Monday Night Football. Vidal. Hampton's role should grow. His snap count should grow. The touch count of Vidal should recede. Hampton is the right play moving forward. He was the right play last night. And again, you don't have to use the rankings, but they are what they are. And I really wish those of you that do subscribe to fantasyguru.com would put more faith in the rankings. Spamming the entire staff and asking everybody what they think. And again, I looked yesterday today. I think everyone was saying Hampton anyway, yet the questions just kept on coming. It's very weird. Jay Main said, will the running back be more effective or my running back my team is okay heading into? Jay Main, I still don't know what you're talking about here. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling here. I don't see a question that I can answer for you, so need a little bit more information. Okay, so that's kind of a review of Monday Night Football. Again, trust the rankings. I would really recommend that. Okay, Jeff Mans, and I say that not because I'm lazy, not because I don't want to answer, not because Jeff is always right, but because I will say it this way. Jeff Mans is as good or better, and I 100% believe what I'm about to say. Jeff Mans is as good or better than any analyst in fantasy sports. Period. End of sentence. Full stop. Okay. You're making a mistake if you're not taking into account his opinion. Okay. There are other analysts, and we joke around in it behind the scenes. There's other analysts that will tell you each week, play Saquon Barkley, play Omari and Hampton, play Travis Kelce. Like, there are analysts that say this stuff. They do videos and they write articles saying, duh. It's the call that you're not expecting to bench a guy or to start a guy that makes the difference. Because again, if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're getting no advantage. There's no edge. If you're just playing, right? If you're just doing what everyone else is doing, just going to Fantasy Pros and getting a consensus rankings, you're just doing what everyone else is doing. Jeff runs simulations. Jeff he does literally watch every single play of every game each week. Trust the rankings. They're really good. At least that's my opinion, and you're watching the show here, so hopefully you agree with what I think sometimes, at least a little bit as well. Let's talk about some of the storylines before he does in about 10 minutes with Tyler Beaker. Again, he wrote does every week, the Fab article, the waiver wire article. We'll talk to him in a few minutes about that. Shane Steichen says, and here, this is really starting to get interesting. We talked about this yesterday. Daniel Jones officially is out with the torn Achilles that we all expected. Anthony Richardson, who had the band hit him in the eye and break his eye socket, is not available to play. So it's going to be Riley Leonard like it was just the other day, right? Well, Riley Leonard hurt his knee, and Steichen said, quote, the hope, unquote, is that he will play. Ooh. So this has gone from uncertain to bad to we're really in trouble very quickly for the Colts. Okay? Brett Rippon is the guy that could potentially be starting this week, and that's not good. They're not winning football games with Brett Rippon. So, you saw the story, right? Future Hall of Fame bound quarterback. And again, football is a little bit more open with the Hall of Fame than some of the other sports. But this guy has thrown for 63,000 yards in his career. He's thrown for 421 touchdowns in his career. And over an 11-year period from 2008 to 2018, why am I talking about this? Well, it'll make sense in a second, right? You're putting it all together. Over that period of time, dude was throwing for 4,400 yards and 30 touchdowns every year, right? Phillip Rivers is, and by the way, I just pulled up the numbers. He averaged 4,361 yards and 30 touchdowns. 4,350 yards basically and 30 touchdowns over an 11-year period. His last NFL game was 2020. But Philip Rivers, let's go. Philip Rivers is in town today visiting with the Colts for a workout. And it's legit possible that the 44-year-old Philip Rivers could be starting games for the Colts here down the stretch. Now, if things went crazy and they signed him today and they brought him in, like, is he really capable of playing this week? Who the hell knows? Okay. But this is a fascinating story. He's 44 and he last played in 2020. And if you ever needed a reason, if you're in any kind of fantasy football league, as you all are, to just go with team quarterback moving forward, isn't this it? We're going from with Daniel Jones in a game to Riley Leonard in a game. We still can't play Richardson in a game. We don't want to play Brett Rypien in a game, and we might sign Philip Rivers off the street. We need to start using team quarterbacks, right? Who's going to start this week for the Colts? We have no idea. Who's starting this week for the Commanders? We have no idea. Who's starting this week for the Jets? We don't have no idea. Why don't we use team quarterback? I don't get it. Why don't we just use team quarterback? You take Kansas City, you're getting Patrick Mahomes. We all know it. You take Philadelphia, you're getting Jalen Hurts. We know it. Wouldn't that be a better way to do it? It would be a better way to do it. I don't even ask the question. It would be a better way to do it. Gavin asked a question that I unfortunately can't answer yet. I need to know all the Yeah. And again, this goes back to the rankings. I know Gavin, just kidding. It's Josh Allen or Philip Rivers. And I've already seen these questions. I've seen people saying they're making moves for week 16. They're making moves for week 17. Thinking playoffs or stashing play. You made it to the playoffs doing one thing. And if your thing making the playoffs was changing your lineup every week, more power to you. It's not the right way to do it, but more power to you. I would tell people, don't drastically alter your plan just because we're hitting into the playoffs for most people this week, right? Like, we're not running to the waiver wire and changing our kicker and changing our defense and changing our tight end and adding a wide receiver 3. We're not doing these things. Like, we're going to talk waivers in a few minutes with Tyler here. And I'm looking at this list, and these are all, I mean, realistically, Ryan Flournoy, you can play if Lamb is out. We don't know if that's the case. Likely and Loveland, again, tight ends, okay. But looking at this list, who else are you starting? You're adding players to give yourself depth. You're adding players in case someone gets hurt. Yeah, adding these guys to start this week. And that's where we're at in the waiver wire. So don't get crazy Jimmy jacking around with your lineup. Regardless, the Colts are bringing in Philip Rivers, and we should find out, I assume today, if Philip Rivers is going to be joining the Colts. And given the state of their quarterback room, he's probably going to sign. When or if he plays, that's probably the real question here with Philip Rivers. Amazing. By the way, I think he's eligible next year to be elected to the Hall of Fame. If he plays, obviously it gets pushed out. Go for it, Philip. You do you. Dan Quinn, I mentioned this, said that Jayden Daniels' elbow was sore, but there's no long-term concerns with the elbow. I went in on this yesterday and was pretty angry and upset about it because Daniels screwed my teams. He's probably screwed your teams. I mentioned the fact that, he got tackled, he really got pushed. He didn't even get tackled on that interception. He got pushed and landed on his bad elbow, and they took him out of the game. Dan Quinn wouldn't say who's the quarterback this week. Okay. As we said prior to the game on Sunday, the Commanders have nothing to play for. It makes no sense to bring Jayden Daniels back unless they think he's 100% healthy. And even then, So they bring him back. He plays a bad football game. He throws an interception. He gets pushed down on the interception, and they don't let him go back in the game. Why would he start again this season? So I'm anticipating Marcus Mariota being named the quarterback the rest of the season for the Commanders. Maybe I'm wrong, and we'll see how this plays out. Again, team quarterback. But, I mean, and I said this in all sincerity yesterday, I'm out on Jayden Daniels. I'm certainly out on Jayden Daniels this year. Like, I'm just out. You're still in the playoffs. If somehow you made the fantasy playoffs and he's your number one quarterback, you need Shedeur Sanders or Trevor Lawrence. You've got to make plans, or Marcus Mariota for that matter. Just can't be trusting him to play 4 quarters of football at this point. We'll see. Giants defense, that's the place you want to be. Speaking of that team, obviously, really terrible news. It is indeed a torn ACL for Ertz. He was taken off the field. He was crying. It was a really rough scene. The 35-year-old vet faced a year of rehab, obviously. Given the timing of this injury, probably not ready. In fact, he wouldn't be ready for week 1 next year. Does he retire? Is this it for his career? Yeah. So always sucks to see that. It might be the end of his career. He also might be Hall of Fame bound, right? Let's be honest about that. He still holds the tight end record for catches, doesn't he? 116? I think he does, right? Bennett or Sano, who cares? Like, we're not pivoting to one of these guys because we had Ertz in this off, and we're not doing that. So you need to find your tight end elsewhere. Maybe you'll go to Likely or Loveland. We'll talk to Tyler again in a few minutes about guys like that. But really rough. Season's over for Ertz, potentially his career. That'd be a terrible way to go for the long-time bet. Talked about the Jets here. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be. We don't know if Fields or Taylor's going to be healthy enough. We don't know. Obviously Cook would be the option if those two guys were hurt. We haven't seen Fields play in forever, so I have no idea how injured his knee is. We don't know. Obviously, it's something that happened away from the football field on a Sunday. We'll continue to watch this storyline because as we saw last weekend with Cook under center, this offense is trash. It's not very good anyway. Let's be honest about that. But the uncertainty of quarterback makes it seem very unlikely as well that Garrett Wilson will return this week or maybe even the rest of the season. Coming back from his knee injury, again, another one of these scenarios. There's just really no reason for it. T. Higgins. T. Higgins was out with a concussion. For those of you that didn't see it on Sunday, what happened? He jumped up to catch a high pass, didn't catch the pass, fell backward, back of his head did the bounce off the turf. He went into the blue tent. They passed him. Okay? So they said, though, on Monday, concussion symptoms returned. Now, I don't know if the league's going to look into this or not, but the guy was coming back off a concussion, clearly hit his head on the ground. I don't know what the NFL is doing or doing. I don't know what the test is in the blue tent. How many fingers am I holding up? I don't know what the test is. But he's having concussion symptoms now. Now, let's be honest about where we're at now. The Bengals aren't making the playoffs despite everyone trying to say they were going to make it. They're not making the playoffs. Higgins has already missed a game with the head injury. He's got a reoccurrence of the head injury. His season could absolutely be over. I think at a best case scenario, he's back in week 16. I don't think there's any chance he's playing this week. I don't. Maybe, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not examining, but we're being logical about this. A second concussion in 3 weeks. I mean, if I'm T. Higgins, I'm out. Okay. Brain injuries, these concussions, I know we poo-poo it a little bit. They can stick with you for the rest of your life. Like, you can be having issues for the next 50 years of your life. So you've got to be very careful. And multiple head injuries in a short period of time is death. It's a horrible sign. Andre Yosavash, would step forward as he often does when either one of those two receivers, Chase or Higgins, is down. A couple of notes here before we talk some waiver wire with Tyler Buecher. Marvin Mims needs to get the ball more on offense, according to Sean Payton. He did score the touchdown last week on the kick return. As we noted on the show yesterday, actually played more offensive snaps than Troy Franklin, which is stunning. I think it was like one. It was very similar. But don't buy this with Sean Payton. They want to get Marvin Mims more involved. Good, great. Who cares? He's not a fantasy option at this point. John Harbaugh says he wants DeAndre Hopkins to get more involved in the offense. You think? You think you want your Hall of Fame bound receiver playing more than 13 snaps in a game? When you're featuring Rashad Bateman, yeah, I think you might want to get Hopkins the ball. Is he the guy he used to be? No. Is he a threat? No. Does he still have great hands? Yes. Can he catch 7-yard slants or first downs? Yes. I don't think this matters at all either. I don't think, coach saying this, the season's 3/4 over. Like, the coach saying it now, who cares? The Ravens passing offense is not good. We know that. But the Bengals are the option in week 15, and the Bengals are not a good defense. So desperation in DFS, just noting it. Again, I don't think it's anything actionable. DeAndre Hopkins just doesn't have the juice anymore to be a difference maker. CeeDee Lamb is progressing nicely through the concussion protocol, so there is a legitimate chance that he can return 10 days after his head injury. We'll continue to follow that storyline. We'll talk to Tyler about Ryan Flournoy here in a few minutes, but he's trending in the right direction as CeeDee Lamb. And then finally, the knee injury with Drake London is being called day to day. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think he's practiced since he hurt his knee. I don't think he's had one practice since he hurt his knee. So is his season over? Does he have a legitimate chance to play? Even though they're calling him, according to his head coach, day to day. We need a lot more information with London. If London is active, there would be no point for the Falcons to activate London at any point the rest of the way. If they were going to play him 30 snaps and throw him 2 balls. Like, if they're activating him, he's getting 9 targets and he's playing all the snaps, right? So if London is active, we're starting him. I don't have any faith that it's this week, and I'm not even sure it's going to happen the rest of the season. So keep that in mind when you're talking about Drake London. All right. I'm Ray Flowers. Remember, go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get signed up for the product over at FG. And we'll be happy to help you out. And one of the guys that'll happily help you out is normally with us on Thursdays. But today, the schedule changed a little bit this week. So we're going to have him on the show today, which matches up because Tyler Buecher, the guy that's normally on Thursday that's going to join us here just in moments, writes the waiver wire article over at fantasyguru.com. We normally talk waivers on Tuesday. Let's do that right now with the guy that writes the article for fantasyguru.com, the one and only Tyler. Tyler Buecher, how you doing, Tyler?
Doing good over here, Ray. Looks like you got a little merry setup over there with the tree in the background. I like it.
Yeah. That's I think it's a 2-year-old photo. But that's one of our many trees we have in the house. You can see I've showed it before. It's kind of the view of the valley out of our back, so it's a really nice vaulted ceiling. So it's a very pretty room with a nice setup there. So I appreciate that. I thought you were going to say it looks cold because of the snow in the background, but I appreciate you saying you look better than that. Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday. Working your schedule around this week to make sure you can join us.
Absolutely. Here to chat some waivers with you guys. We are into week 15, which is the fantasy playoffs for the majority of leagues. It's a good time for us to chat some waivers where, we got everything on the line here, which makes this a really fun week in terms of fantasy preparation. There are no more buys. So it's really just getting those squads ready to kick some butt down the stretch here.
Yeah, we got, and again, one of the things we can do here on the show, which we love to do, is interact with the folks. And Jay Main's asking a question about Trey Benson. You think he's done? I said yes. And I guess he's got a couple of days technically where they could still activate him this week, but the time is almost out on his 21-day window. He clearly had a setback at practice. I said I'm out because what say you, Tyler?
Agree. Yeah, we're at the very tail end of this activated 21-day window. It's pretty clear he's not going to be coming back. I'm spot on with you. I told everyone to drop him in advance of last week's matchups so that you could get some better players on your bench.
Right.
You're just delaying the inevitable, I think.
Yeah, and that's going to go down again. It's going to go down as one of the biggest lost seasons of the year because he had a chance to be the number one back and be a weekly starter when Connor went down early. So that was a rough one. All right, let's dive in here, Tyler. The article over at fantasyguru.com, an in-depth article, big, extensive article talking about the waiver wire. Bunch of guys to talk to you about. Just a general pullback before the specifics. I said earlier in the show today, keep the process going. Keep doing what you've been doing. I'm seeing a lot of people already. It's like they're changing this, they're changing that, they're running to the waiver. Some people made the playoffs by the hair of their chinny chin, and this is how they've been doing it. But for the most part, don't we want to kind of stay on the same path we've been on and not necessarily run to the waiver wire to change our team up?
Yeah, but I'm with you where every single team has their own little journey. It's like a snowflake where everyone's path in league is different. The rules, the league setups, the waivers, the players that are able to start and sit. Yeah, it's a challenge for everybody. So I did in my intro, I wrote a little comment of just take a moment and congratulate yourself if you made it to the playoffs. It's not easy to do. It's to survive 14 weeks in the NFL. We've seen many squads go 0-7 and then go on a 7-0 rampage and go 7-7 and just squeak in by the hair of their chinny chin, like you just referenced.
Right.
Other teams 14-0, dominated the table, most points scored every single week. So no matter where you are, I think you should probably stick to what got you there because clearly the path has helped. And again, like we're at a point where most great players off waivers are thin plays. You likely have better options off waivers. You're really just kind of fixing and reshuffling the back end of your squad, if anything.
And that's basically what I said. He said it more eloquently than I did. Tyler Buecher of fantasyguru.com. Let's start with the quarterback position. Shedeur Sanders had 4 touchdowns. He does a lot of this. The numbers are great. I don't know that he played that well, to be honest. And it's the Titans at home. But fantasy-wise, it was a big game. Anything to see there with Sanders? We have multiple situations across the league where the quarterback position is uncertain this week.
A lot of victory lapping on social media. Wow. That was very interesting. My takeaway is it's the Tennessee Titans. They are a bottom 5 pass defense in EPA. They are just not a unit to fear. The run game could not get going for whatever reason, so they switched to the pass. Shedeur was able to hit some big gains. Some of those were just screens, like a 60-yard gain for Judkins on the ground. Still bumped. He got tackled at the 1-yard line.
Yeah,
I had an anytime touchdown on him. Really, really irritating. I don't think this is anything more than just a flash in the pan. I would not really go out and try to grab him even on Superflex 2 QB waivers. What we saw the first 2 weeks of him starting, I think is more indicative of what we are going to see. This was just him taking advantage of a great matchup. And Tennessee just could not hold on to the ball. They could not sustain drives. They were either doing 40-plus yard runs for Tony Pollard, or they were just punting the ball. So I think this was just an anomaly. Shout out Sanders, QB2 of the week. If you played him in DFS, you are a bold person. But congratulations on the huge W.
Yeah, bold, not smart in my opinion, but bold. I think that's a good way to put it. It worked out if you did take that chance. Trevor Lawrence is another name I highlighted here. We've been kind of harsh on him over at FG. He clearly has not lived up to expectations. There's no way around that. But the last month or so, he's given you 2 touchdowns a game, and they've given him some weapons. Thomas is back. They've got Myers now. Hopefully Parker Washington will get back out on the field. We feeling like Trevor Lawrence could be a guy for us in the fantasy playoffs?
Not really excited about it. I'll say that he did have a touchdown wiped off the board too due to penalty to Brenton Strange. Another bet that we missed.
Yeah.
A rough one. Let me look at his schedule that he's got here to close out the year. I believe it's positive. Yeah, he's got the Jets. Broncos are a tough one. And the Colts and Titans. Titans are week 18, so I don't know if you go that far in your squads. So great matchup, bad matchup, decent matchup. I think he's fine. I haven't really been utilizing him all season long in any type of single quarterback formats. I think he's solely a 2 quarterback super flex option. You could do worse as a 2 QB super flex guy. I think he's right in the middle of that QB 18 range.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Blake Corum, everyone's favorite guy to play, despite the fact that the first 11 games this season, his average point per game total in a PPR setup, first 11 games, was 4.2. Despite the fact that the first 11 games, he scored 6 points one single time. Everyone everywhere has been talking about this guy forever. So I don't know if he's on the waiver wire. I don't know, okay? Because everyone in the fantasy universe seems to love a guy that gives him 5 points a week. Last 2 weeks, things have been different. And the real reason, obviously, is he's gotten in the end zone. 3 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Now he's averaging 20 points the last 2 games. Where are we at here? Matchup with Detroit, not a great matchup. He is more involved, but still he only has 1 game in 4 where he's seen more than 8 carries. It's going to be expensive if Corum's on the waiver wire. How do you handle it, Tyler?
I think if you are waiting now to get Corum, you probably missed your opportunity to do so. He jumped from like a 16% ownership rate in Yahoo leagues up to 33% over the last week. Now I envision everybody's going out to grab him, where they're probably just like a little bit late, so you're spending a lot more fab to do so. Right. But be cognizant that they've had the opportunity to play from ahead, double-digit points in multiple games. I don't envision that happening here with the Lions and with the Seahawks as their next 2 matchups. Week 17 against Atlanta, sure. Well, we could see a 30-7 kind of game where Corum gets some run. But he still is the backup. He's still playing behind Kyron, so I just don't view him as anything more than just an upside flex where you're really just hoping for garbage time production. But again, I don't see that happening these next 2 weeks. So you can pick him up. Yeah, he's a great player to have on the end of your bench. Absolutely. He has one of those 1-for-1 contingent upsides that's up there with the best of them. But just know that you're waiting for the Kyron injury. That's what he is. He's just a backup and a handcuff.
The situation here with the Dolphins has been a difficult one because even if you're in the handcuff game, right? You probably have had Jaylen Wright at some point. You probably had Ollie Gordon at some point. Maybe you have both. Maybe you have neither. HN hurt his ribs. We're hearing a lot of positive thoughts there. He could have gone back in the game if it mattered. They were up, I think it was 48-0 after 3 minutes. That game was over right away. So now, it's like, okay, we've got HN, and I've said this myself. I don't care if you believe in handcuffing or not. Once we hit double-digit weeks on the season, you should handcuff your top assets. That's in my opinion. HN's obviously your top asset. Hopefully you've got Jaylen Wright. Is it Jaylen Wright? And what do we do if it's not Jaylen Wright? Because this is another scenario like Corum. Wright went for a touchdown at 100 yards. So Doomkoffs out there are going to go out and spend a lot of money thinking that he's going to have some huge role if HN is healthy. How do you play it?
It's tough. I have HN in a few leagues, but I truly do not have him handcuffed. He's just been kind of that guy where I haven't because he's one of one. I don't envision Jaylen Wright being that guy where he's catching all the 5 to 8 passes that HN's capable of. We saw the 24 carries, 100 yards against a lifeless Jets team that could not move the ball whatsoever against a practice squad level quarterback after Tyrod exited the game. So that was really just him beating up on a JV team in my eyes. I kind of do think he would be the handcuff now as we enter week 15 after seeing all of that workload when it could have been Gordon. They instead decided to give it to Wright. Wright ended the preseason with a lot of injuries. He was unable to win that battle between him and Gordon. So Gordon just kind of got it by default. some of these things are fluid situations, but I think we saw their cards this past weekend where when the opportunity rose to replace Achan, they went with Wright heavily. So, yeah, I do think he would be the guy to target for handcuffing. Do you disagree with that?
No. And again, I think one of the difficult things in general with the handcuff, and you know this, Tyler, it's why you didn't do it. There are scenarios like Blake Corum goes in if Kyron Williams goes down. Blake Corum gets 18 touches a week and he's at the goal line getting touchdowns. Achan goes down. No one's got the Achan skills. It'd be a mix and match. They don't dump the ball off. So, I think that how you handle handcuffs, how you handle the Miami Dolphins backfield in particular, I think it is kind of back to what you said earlier in the show, kind of specific based upon what your team situation is.
Yeah. So like I've got a squad where I've got more clear handcuff situations, and I've backed up those situations relative to Miami, where it's a bit more murky and not quite a 1-for-1 replacement, where not every handcuff is.
Well, let's talk about a situation that kind of falls into that zone too. I think maybe I'm wrong. Dylan Sampson with the Browns. Judkins he's trucking along, but there's been some bumps and bruises, and Sampson clearly has a lot of juice. When he gets the ball in open space, you can see it. I think that if Judkins goes down, Ford and Sampson will both be on the field. My assumption would be that Sampson would be the lead back. What do we do with Sampson? Because, unlike Jaylen Wright or Blake Corum, maybe someone's interested in adding Sampson, but it's going to be, I would assume, at a much lower price point than those other two guys.
Yeah, I would consider this guy more of like a 14-16 team league kind of player. I'm not super excited to jump in and invest in multiple Browns players at this time. We're just not seeing a lot of points on the board.
Right.
And that's just being honest. Sampson did leapfrog Ford in terms of that RB2. So there is a lot of upside there. I remember back in May, a lot of groaning and disdain from Dynasty owners seeing him go to Cleveland right after Judkins went. But Sampson's a talented player. I mean, if he has the opportunity to replace Judkins, who, like you said, has missed some time from here and there, I think he could put up some solid RB2 production, particularly in PPR formats. This guy's got a lot of juice, great hands out of the backfield. Unfortunately, he's just behind a really talented player there in Judkins. So I think he's probably more of a 14-team, 16-team kind of pickup for that type of league, or maybe a deeper format, but that's about it.
Tyler Buecher normally joins us on Thursdays at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, switching things up. He's on Tuesday, obviously, with us today. He'll be back Thursdays next week. Armando Marsala is normally on Tuesdays. We'll be on Thursday. What about Chuba Hubbard? This one's interesting because there's a bye week involved, and we know people always forget about players on the bye. And, we had the head coach, Dave Canales, come out and say that our early down back is still Rico Dowdle. I think if you watch film, I think if you look at the numbers, the last couple of weeks, Hubbard has closed the gap, if there is a gap between these two guys anymore, in terms of actually on the field producing. Hubbard's coming on. He finally looks like he's healthy. I think Dowdle's slowing down.
It's
tough. Not a great. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think that they want to use him as a third down back. We got a quote from Canales saying exactly that. So we'll probably see these guys both sharing the workload. It's no longer going to be the Rico Dowdle 70-75% snap share and 100+ yards on the ground and the touchdown week in and week out that we were getting for a brief spell there. I've got Dowdle on a couple squads where I am now trying to find alternative replacements. I think he's down in the RB3 grouping. Carolina Panthers, to me, aren't a team that I'm excited to roster multiple players from. It used to be Dowdle, but Dowdle's allure has really gone down as we've seen Chuba kind of get more involved these last 2 to 3 weeks. You're right, absolutely right, though, about the bye week thing, where I think there's a good chance that Hubbard's out there in a lot of waivers. If you are a Dowdle owner, maybe you do go pick him up, because we've seen whenever it's just one of these singular backs, they do extremely well in Carolina's offense. This team wants to run the ball.
They do. And Bryce Young is not the answer. I'm telling you, folks, still not the answer. He's still only thrown the ball for like 210 yards twice. Okay. Luther Burden. I initially was leaving Luther Burden off the list this week because we had said in Discord and articles on shows for 3 weeks now to add Luther Burden. You wanted to talk to everyone about Luther Burden. Obviously, you're going to say, I assume, hey, let's thumbs up. Why did you want to talk about him? And why do you think people have waited so long to get in on Burden when it seemed like everything was going wheels up at some point in the future?
I'm shrugging over here. I don't know if anyone's listening to this and not watching the YouTube video. Big shrug here. 17% owned in Yahoo leagues. What I wanted to bring up here this week, though, was that Odunze with the foot injury did not practice at all last week. So there's a good chance that is a lingering injury, something that we could see carried over into week 15. For that reason, I wanted to bring up Luther Burden, who led the team in receiving yardage, targets last week. Looked great. I think this guy's a really special talent. He was just kind of incorrectly miscast as the slot guy, sharing snaps with Zacchaeus. Now that we got him playing a bit more on the perimeter, I think there's a lot of upside for him now that we've got DJ Moore ghosting this entire offense. So wide receiver 30 plus upside, I think, the rest of the season, depending on what we got. But as long as Odunze's out, I think there's a legitimate start-sit case to be made for Burden.
Like DJ Moore, like they gave him like $100 million last year. Like he caught 90 passes in 3 of 4 seasons coming into this year. What is it? Personality? Is it quarterback? Is it offense? Is it him? Is it he lost the skills? Like he caught 98 passes last year, and now he's just not even part of the offense.
I think we will hear things after the season when he's released or sent elsewhere. This seems like a very internal thing. I remember watching the game Sunday and seeing Caleb break containment, go outside, do one of his Houdini things where he breaks out of the pocket and picks up a gain, runs right by DJ Moore, who's holding a block. Moore and Caleb are like 2 feet away from each other. Right. Moore does not help him get up. He just turns his back and walks away. Usually you help your quarterback get up after he makes a big play like that, scrambling for the first down. I think the body language, and there's something that's not being said there that's privy behind the scenes that we're not privy to,
right.
Will come clear to us months from now. But I think Moore's time in Chicago's over.
Yeah, that's been a stunning, like guys get hurt and it sucks in fantasy, but guy going from 98 catches to 49 this year, or so, I'm guessing he's going to have half as many catches he had last year. Like, this is just crazy. Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Ryan Flournoy, he is the third receiver now for the Cowboys. Obviously, he stepped forward last game, and again, after the injury, to CeeDee Lamb. He has no value, right? You can't start him in any format if Lamb and Pickens are playing, or can you? Like, can't be chasing points here because his usability is directly tied to the health of Pickens and Lamb. We heard earlier that Lamb is progressing, though we don't know if he's going to be able to play. We assume he will through the concussion issue.
Yeah, they've got this strange 10-day window after playing on Thursday Night Football. Generally, most players have not cleared concussion protocol within the 7-day turnaround from Sunday to Sunday. So this is a very interesting case. If he does not make it, I think Flournoy could repeat what he did last week. He was top 5 in air yards last week, picked up 100 yards, 13 targets, career high for him. I like the guy. I think he's a good talent. The question is, can he get on the field? This team plays out of 11 personnel at a top 12 rate, 3 receiver sets. But like you said, we do need Lamb to be out in order to be this guy to be someone that we can put into fantasy starting lineups. So I would really only target him if I were a Lamb owner, because again, this is probably just a 1-week rental, but he showed last week he could get it done. They draw the Vikings this week. I think their secondary is certainly exploitable. They send a lot of blitzes, which creates a lot of variance. When those don't get home, there could be some catch and run opportunities for a guy like Flournoy, a guy like Pickens, and who knows where Pickens' head is after this whole past week.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. As you can see on the screen now, we do have our gift cards available. Go to fantasyguru.com, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner, get the gift cards. Whatever level of gift card you get, we give you free bucks, right? Like we give you 15, 20, 30 bucks. So whatever you get, you can keep a little bit for yourself. Keep it all for yourself. You don't have to give it as a gift. Give yourself a gift card over at FG. Jayden Reed, this is like the Packers receiving core is just, and I've said it 112 times since the start of last season. Like who the hell knows? Like, right? Even in the case of Watson, who's scoring touchdowns there. Let's not forget 2 of the last 4 games he didn't get the 50 yards. Let's not forget he never catches more than 4 passes. Like he's having the big touchdown. So Watson looks like a great play, but he's getting 5 targets and catching 4 passes. And that's kind of the way this offense goes. Dontavian Wicks pops for a week and then he plays 6 snaps. Romeo Doubs scores 3 touchdowns and then he gets 2 targets. Jayden Reed's back now, which complicates it even more. They did give him the ball on the ground. They did involve him as a pass catcher in his first game back. Who's Jayden Reed moving forward?
He's tough. He's one of those players that I just frankly avoid because he's kind of been pigeonholed to a slot-only type of weapon. This team has dropped their 11 personnel rate pretty precipitously this year. They went from a 67% rate last year. They're like 54, 55% this year. Some of that's probably due to Reed being out. Some of it's probably due to the emergence of Kraft, where they've been trying to get multiple tight ends on the field to try to help the run game quite a bit. Now that Kraft's out of the picture, maybe we do see a bit of a shift towards more 11 personnel to close out the year. More Reed, who showed some flashes. He looked good last week. 4 catches, 40 yards, I believe. Had a rushing opportunity as well. He's just a floor play to me. And I think when we're in the spot where we're looking for ceiling plays, now that we've got head-to-head fantasy championships on the line, I'm much more interested in the guys like Christian Watson than I am the guys Jayden Reed. I'll be frank with you guys. I think Reed is wide receiver 3-4, where Watson has wide receiver 2, top 12 upside in a given week. He just showed the ability to win from anywhere on the field. Like his consistent ability to put up gains of 25 plus yards, often housing those receptions. It's incredible. I'll be honest. And Jordan Love, he is seeing the field well. He's playing a pretty good ball. They've got a competitive schedule to close out the year. I think they're going to continue to lean on a guy like Watson quite a bit.
What do you make of it? I don't know if I've ever asked you directly. Jeff Mans and I've talked about it a ton of times. Oh, let me back up. If I was Jordan Love, I'd be throwing it from – Jordan Love has never stepped into a pass and driven the football, ever. He throws everything off his back foot. He thinks he's Aaron Rodgers. Jeff has speculated many times that it's an issue that the coaching staff identified with Love, and it helps him keep the ball on target, that kind of thing. Like, how do you think for a guy who literally floats every pass? Like, does that put you off? Because, again, the numbers are pretty good with Jordan Love, and he hasn't been turning the ball over, but everything is this.
You know, when you've got guys that have the speed of Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, and now you can add the rookie
Matthew
Golden, you have the ability to just throw it in the vicinity. It doesn't need to be dropped in a bucket, right. Where I think he can get away with those types of throws. I remember watching the Bears game last Sunday where it was just Watson on a quick slant. The Bears were sending a blitz, but they had a safety over the top. I'm sorry, my hand's in the way. Safety over the top, rotating one way, Watson on the slant going the other direction, and it was just free real estate for him. Like after the first 7 yards, it was clear Watson was housing the reception. Right. I'm not going to pretend I'm a quarterback guru. I think it's a really difficult position to evaluate and judge. I mean, the NFL's best. They get paid millions of dollars. Don't do it well year in and year out. I just know what I see, and I see a guy in Love that is pretty darn good when pressured and when against the blitz. And when you've got those guys that I talked about, the speedsters, you don't need to be spot on with every single catch. They've got the ability to manipulate their body and create that separation that few defenders are able to hang with them in one-on-one situations.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Colts are this. It went from Daniel Jones to no Richardson to maybe no Riley Leonard to maybe Phillip Rivers. I mean, this is getting nuts here with the Colts. Alec Pierce was hurt, but he wasn't hurt. Did he get a concussion or didn't he get a concussion? We don't know what's going on with Alec Pierce. So I want to ask you about Josh Downs, because to me, Josh Downs, who cares? And it's not that Pierce and Downs are the same guy. They're not close to being the same guy. But if Alec Pierce isn't out there, do you have an interest in adding Josh Downs, or does it not matter because of just the crazy uncertainty we have with how the offense is going to run? Who's even going to be under center for him?
The latter. Like, there's just so much chaos going on here in Indy. I think it's a team that's just kind of going to self-implode their way to maybe a wild card spot. Maybe they find a way to get there. Luckily, they raced out to a strong record, but Houston's roaring back. They've got one of the best defenses in the league. Their offense is getting healthy outside of Nick Chubb, but they're looking pretty good there. Jacksonville is a legitimate wild card week in and week out. We briefly talked about Lawrence. I just can never get this team right. But I do think they're legitimate contenders in terms of making a run for the AFC South. So where does this put the Colts? That puts them with this grab bag group of quarterbacks. I mean, the orbital bone fracture for Anthony Richardson makes it sound like he's not anywhere close to returning. So anyone hoping on that is, I think, wishing on a dream that's not going to come true. Right. Hence the interest in guys like, quarterback.
Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers. I'm sorry. Blanking on his name.
He hasn't played in 5 years, so yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, sorry. He hasn't played since 2020. I saw a joke on Twitter where someone's like, he's realizing how expensive college is, so he's going to go back out there and get.
He has like 9 kids or something, right?
Yeah, for his dozen kids he's got. Yeah. I look back at the last year Rivers was playing. He was playing good. He was a good point guard. He was getting the ball to his guys.
Right.
The question is, like, the quarterback play is going to greatly impact the wide receiver play.
Yep.
And with that unknown, it's really tough to say what a guy like Downs is going to do. Maybe they need to go more 2 tight end sets because the quarterback that they're playing with doesn't have the ability to get rid of the ball quickly. They can't process things quickly. They just need that extra blocker out there. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. Downs is a guy that I would not roster in any 12-team or smaller league. I think he's purely a 14-team plus league flyer.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Couple of tight ends before we shut things down here, Tyler. Colston Loveland, the youngster, he's been okay. And I think that, if you drafted him, he's had 3 games of 10 PPR points. So, has gotten in the end zone a little bit, had a couple of big games. But for the most part, he's catching 3 or 4 passes for 35, 40 yards. And he's either a bad play or he gets in the end zone and you're happy, right? That's kind of where we're at with him. Cleveland this week, Green Bay the following week. They're in San Francisco in week 17. Level of interest in adding Colston Loveland if he's on the waiver wire?
I think it really depends what you got. I mean, are you swapping him out for like Mark Andrews, where Andrews is kind of a similar play? You're just touchdown chasing, and when he doesn't reach the end zone, you're frustrated. I don't know. I think it's kind of chasing your tail when you're trying to find these types of guys where, sure, Loveland's coming off a good game. I put him in my waiver column because I think he's better than some of the other options out there. Right. Doesn't mean he's a guy that you need to go and shuffle up who you already have. Like if I've got Dalton Kincaid and I'm struggling between him versus him versus Fannin versus Loveland versus Brenton Strange, just pick one. Like that's my kind of sentiment with these guys. It's really tough if you're going to try to play the matchups with tight end specifically. I think you can play matchups with things like quarterback and running back. Receiver and tight end, there's so many variabilities that come in effect here where again, you're chasing your tail. So pick a tight end that you think has top 15 upside, stick with them throughout these remaining 3 weeks, look at their schedules, and then go from there.
I've said it. You've said it. Frank on the corner said it. Jennifer at the hair salon has said it. Tight ends against the Bengals in your lineup. Let's go. Isaiah Likely and the Ravens face the Bengals this week. So what are we doing with Isaiah Likely, who for 2 months did nothing? Last 2 weeks, he's seen 6 targets. He's seen 6 targets. He scored a touchdown last week. He should have had a second touchdown. The NFL doesn't know what a catch is. He should have had a touchdown the week before at the goal line. Like this could have been 3 touchdowns in 2 games, and it wouldn't have mattered because everyone would have added him, 7 days ago. If he's out there, what are we doing? Are you more into Likely than you are Loveland?
I don't hate it. I'll say, like, if you look at like projections and things like that, they're all going to come out pretty darn similarly. Where this might be a spot where you do lean into the matchup because Cincinnati's so poor. He just played them 2 weeks ago on Thanksgiving. That was the 95-yard outing. He dropped the touchdown right before celebrating the end zone. Yeah, I mean, like there's the possibility that he repeats that and we get another 90-plus yard game and another touchdown. I could see the team also actively trying to get him a touchdown after the way things ended in Pittsburgh. Definitely screwed out of that second touchdown there. I like him a lot. He's widely available in many leagues. Probably a better DFS play because he's probably going to be dirt cheap. But yeah, I think he's a solid option to consider for redraft leagues as well.
Adam Schefter is reporting that Phillip Rivers has signed to the practice squad with the Indianapolis Colts. 44-year-old Phillip Rivers might return to the NFL field, delaying his potential entry into the Hall of Fame. So he's joining the practice squad. Does he have a chance to play this week? Could he, being Phillip Rivers, be out there this weekend for the team if they needed him to?
That resets it, right? The Hall of Fame candidacy.
It would if he played. Yeah. I don't know if the signing does or not. If he plays, for sure. Signing maybe does too. I don't know. You think he could do it in a couple days? He probably could, right?
He probably could. I mean, we've seen Flacco do it. He did it. I was actually thinking Flacco could be a candidate to be released and then, or maybe traded for by Indy to see if they could keep this postseason run. Again, I don't think many teams have the ability to be in the position that Indy is, where they've got a fantastic record, a fantastic offense, a defense that's on the rise, and to just throw in the towel because you've lost your quarterback and you've lost your backup. You should be aggressive here. So, like, I'm just floored that Rivers is the quote-unquote aggressive solution.
Pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought maybe trading for a player would have made much more sense. Okay, you're sacrificing future capital for a win-now move. Do it. Go try to win now. I just don't get this move. Who do the Colts play this week? Is it a soft matchup? They get the Seahawks. Terrible matchup. Good luck, Rivers.
Worst matchup you could get.
Yeah. Oh my God, there was a corner in Buffalo that like quit at halftime a game, maybe like 2-3 years ago. I'm forgetting his name right now. I imagine we see Rivers do the same thing against the Seahawks. They're going to sack him 5 times in the first half. He's going to be like, "There's not enough orange slices to get me out of here."
This is a bad idea. I got to go home.
Thank you, Mark. He brought up a good point. The trade deadline did pass. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Mike O asked a question here: Gibbs and Taylor, Benson, Hill, and Jaleel McLaughlin on the bench. Well, Benson's, as we both said, probably not going to play. Hill's on the IR, so he's useless. McLaughlin is the third running back on his own team. Really, a second. Who cares? You can't use him. So Mike's asking, I can go after Jaylen Wright, probably get him because I have most of my fab left. He's wondering if it's worth it. Well, again, given this group, probably. But if Achan's playing, Wright's useless.
Right. Correct. However, Benson's even more useless. He is literally useless, where he will not be able to play if he's scratched after that 21-day period. So I would drop Benson and I would grab Wright just in case. Maybe there is a setback. Maybe he gets Achan gets popped in this week 15 matchup. Really does break a rib. I mean, they just maybe fractured or bruised or some smaller degree where a hit does accelerate that injury. I would be aggressive and go pick up him because these guys to me are not going to help you whatsoever.
Bill W's got a question. If T. Higgins is out, and again, he's dealing with his head injury yet again. Question about Mike Gesicki. Is he a better option than Hawkinson, Barner, or Waller? Gesicki obviously had a huge game last week out of nowhere. Hasn't done anything. They've often used 4 tight ends, the Bengals. Like, this is not. But if Higgins is out, that's 6, 8, 10 targets that they have to fill. And you look at names like Hawkinson, Barner, and Waller, not exactly the best of the best.
Dime a dozen kind of crew. Like, these guys are even like they're the more tight end 2 group too. They're not even the like fringe top 12 options. These are the tight end 18 to tight end 24 options that I'm looking at. Waller, you're touchdown chasing. Barner, you're hoping for a tush push. Hawkinson, that ship sailed. He is cooked. I don't care that he scored a touchdown last week. So I would consider Gesicki right in the mix with Waller and Barner. Put those guys a tier above Hawkinson. With Higgins out, I mean, we saw it last year. There were games where Gesicki got a bit more of a run. I don't mind the play, to be honest. They're going to be facing the Ravens. Ravens like to slow the game down. That said, I do think they'll need some passing weapons here if the Ravens offense is able to get any kind of vengeance relative to what they saw on Thanksgiving. That game was over very fast.
Tyler Beaker of FantasyGuru.com again. Normally joins us Thursdays. He'll be back on Thursday next week. Tyler is moving to Tuesday, obviously, today. We're moving Armando from today to Thursday. He'll be back on Tuesday next week. We got all the traditional things ready and rocking over at FantasyGuru.com for Week 15, the first week of the playoffs for most people. Send an email to support@FantasyGuru.com if you've got any on-the-field questions. Don't send stardom sit-ems to the email address. Support@FantasyGuru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get a gift card. We'll give you some free cash if you buy the gift card. Get the football product the rest of the way. That includes NFL and college. It includes all the seasonal coverage, all the DFS coverage, all the betting coverage, all of it for one price for the rest of the way. So get that as well. Tyler, you're doing everything. You're here with us talking seasonal. You do the live stream on Tuesday nights. Are you doing it tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern time?
Correct. Yep. I'll be doing it at 7 p.m. Eastern. I don't actually know who'll be on with me. Usually it's Russell Clay for sure. And then either Armando or Rich. Armando Marçal or Rich Mileto. We'll figure that part out later. Yeah, that'll be on at 7 p.m. Eastern. I've got my waiver wire article live on Fantasy Guru right now. Tomorrow I'll have a scheming for success article where I'm looking at offensive attacks versus different defensive schemes, whether they're facing cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, how the quarterback and their receivers fare against these specific coverages they're slated to attack. Thursday I'll have my wide receiver coach out, which is a DFS spin on the same kind of concept. And then Friday, the DFS live stream, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing that one with Russell Clay. And then Saturday, the game script article coming out where I go game by game, looking at every single player, every single matchup, trying to help you guys get those lineups ready for Sunday.
Yeah, so we got a lot going on. And Tyler's part of that. DFS seasonal wagering. If you want to get all of his great work, again, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, as you can see there on the screen. $64.99 the rest of the way for all of our football coverage, everything we got, including the live streams, the articles, the rankings, all that over at FantasyGuru.com. Tyler, thanks for moving things around this week. We appreciate it. We'll visit with you again Thursday next week, your normal day. Have a great rest of the week, and good luck in those leagues that you're still active in here in the first week of the playoffs for most folks.
Thanks. Good luck to you too, Ray, and good luck to everybody listening. Catch you guys later.
He's Tyler Beaker. I'm Ray Flowers. Justin Fensterman and Rich Milano will be on the show here tomorrow. I'll be with Jeff Mans. That's Monday through Friday on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio from 2 to 5. I'll be with Jeff on Wednesday every week, including tomorrow. That's why I'm not here. But Justin will be here with Rich, and I'll return on Thursday with Armando Mersal in tow. For Tyler, I'm Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com.